Hi guys, welcome to the show. My name is Seb Ostrovich, aka the Voice of the People, and this is the Weightlifting House podcast. Welcome back, guys, to the Weightlifting House news show. I've got a lot of stuff going through my head at the moment. I've had a few phone calls today with different people about different prospects that I'm very excited about. Can't really go into them yet. I'm sure they'll all become clear at some point, but things that are running through my head, I'm trying to work out logistics of everything, and it's exciting and it's stressful and it's I don't know what to make of it all. But anyway, let's I'm going to try and do my absolute best to not have my mind consumed by that while I'm attempting to do the news show. But potentially exciting things to come. Before I get into the news show, there are other things that I want to talk about a little bit. The first one is that for the camp that I'm going to go over and do with Glenn, which is it's in 8 days now. It's very close. I'm not going to be there for another 11, but it starts in 8 days officially. One of the issues that I foresaw with that camp is the fact that only people who are there can experience it. So, I mean, I'm sure some of you saw the 3-minute podcast I put out the other day where I basically said that I would like to have someone to come and film the whole camp, and they can film it for free and everything. And I have that sorted now. So for those of you who kind of are interested in what happens at these camps, we're going to vlog it. So everything is going to be filmed. The morning session, the evening session, when we go out to have food, when we go to the YMCA and talk shit and recover and all of that stuff, is all going to be filmed. It's all going to be turned into vlogs and will be uploaded on the Weightlifting House YouTube page, which at the moment is not a great page. I've not done a whole lot of work on there. It's like the one form of social media I've not really bothered with as of yet, but I will do. So that's an exciting thing, is that you're going to be able to catch up with all of those things. I'm also then tempted to get my own camera and start filming my own training sessions, basically, just so you guys can kind of see a little bit more about the Pendlay WOD, that kind of thing. And I don't know, I used to just love watching weightlifting vlogs, and it seems like there's a sudden lack of them on YouTube, which I know I'm not quite the same caliber of lifter as when Ilya used to have his vlog, for example, or even John North. But still, I know that when I was training earlier on in the year, or earlier on in the sport, I would have loved to have had more vlogs to watch. So I think I might just start that. I think it's not going to hurt anyone. It could be a lot of fun to do. And for me, it might end up pushing me to another level, just knowing that I have eyes on me when I'm training. I think it's probably worth it for me if I want to start lifting more and more. I think that's maybe a good way to go about it. Next, we have, as always, I'm just going to mention them, the Weightlifting House barbells, the house bar, men's bar, women's bar, 210,000 PSI, which I've had people ask me what is that, because I keep saying that stat. It's basically the quality of the steel. Anything over 200,000 is really quite phenomenal steel. This is 210,000. I believe a Leico is maybe 215,000, or it might even be 210,000 as well. I'm not quite sure, but essentially, the steel quality is the same. 10 needle bearings, they are still 10% discount. Maybe for another week, and then they'll go back up to the regular price. So you can pick up those on weightliftinghouse.com in the USA, or if you're in Europe or whatever, you can pay to get one of those. Next, we have, I mentioned it very briefly before, Glenn Pendlay, the People's Coach, is coming to the UK again to do a mini tour. So he's already got some sort of guest lecturing booked in Ireland. So the plan is that Glenn's going to stay for another week, and we're going to do a few tours. So the first one at a gym in Ireland that I do not know the name of, but it is the gym where Clarence Kennedy trains a lot of the time. Not the little sort of church-looking one, but the one that's an actual CrossFit gym. So we're going to be there on the 29th of July with Clarence, my friend David Nolan, a bunch of cool guys. So if you're interested in that, hold tight, because there actually no way you can buy tickets yet, but I'll get that sorted soon. The next two seminars are going to be on the 4th and the 5th of August. On the 4th, I think we're going to go to Chelmsford, to Chelmsford Weightlifting Club, which is very cool. We still have one spot left on the 5th. We could do it at my gym in Exeter, but I kind of feel like, because Glenn's going to be stationed down there and he's going to come to the gym with me to coach, most days anyway. We might as well try and find somewhere else. So if there isn't anywhere else that would love to host myself and Glenn, please let me know. That would be on the 5th of August. So if you're interested in any of those, I'll put links up to come to those seminars in the coming week, I guess. Lastly, something that I am only going to put out there so that it forces me to be a little bit more serious about it, because once it's been said on a podcast, it's there forever, is what I would like to do, and I had a message from someone about doing this as well. I thought about this a while ago, and they've kind of prompted me to reconsider it, is have guests, have athletes or coaches on the news show. So not on the Monday show, but on the news show to talk about the news from the year. From the week. And I thought about doing this a while ago. I remember, I think I even mentioned maybe to Ian Wilson, do you want to come and do the news show? And he was busy. And I kind of left it there, but I think it just might spark some more debate about what's going on in the weightlifting world if I'm actually able to converse with someone rather than just rattle off the stats as I currently do. So that might be coming soon. I'll have to see how I go with all of that stuff. Right, now let's actually kick off with some of the weightlifting. So to start off with, we had Tatiana Kashirina, the Russian female super heavyweight, perhaps the most dominant female weightlifter ever, almost certainly the greatest outlier of weightlifters ever, maybe in all of weightlifting actually, regardless of sex. I think she might be the most dominant in any weight class, male or female. So recently, Tatiana just competed in Russia for the first time in several years. She went 6 for 6, as she always does. She snatched 140 and clean and jerked 182 kilos on her third attempts. So a bit about her. Tatiana is a 7-time European champion, a 4-time world champion, and the world record holder in the snatch, clean and jerk, and total. In fact, her best performance ever, which consisted of a 155 kilo snatch and a 193 kilo clean and jerk from Almaty in 2014, gave her a total of 348 kilos, which, to put this into perspective, that total is 64 kilos above the winning total from the 2017 World Championships, which of course was won by Sarah Robles. So Tatiana's biggest rival, realistically, no offense to Sarah, but when you include someone like Meng Su Ping, I think we can call Meng Su Ping Tatiana's biggest rival. But Meng Su Ping from China won the 2016 Olympics with a 307 kilo total, which is still some 41 kilos behind Tatiana's best total. Tatiana is unbelievable and surely can't not be one of the 2 lifters that Rush will choose for the Olympics in 2020, as long as, of course, she is fit and healthy. We haven't seen Tatiana lift internationally for a few years, as she is serving a 2-year ban along with basically all of the Russian athletes at the moment. But exciting to see her back doing a little bit of lifting, 140, 182, more than any other female lifter has done in quite a long time. Now, staying with banned lifters who have, I guess, dominated the sport as well during their career, Ilya Ilyin, for another week in a row, has added 5 kilos to his snatch. But one of the more exciting things about it is it seems like every single week the PR, the added 5 kilos, looks slightly easier than the one before. So this week, Ilya made a comeback PR of 165 kilos in the snatch, which looks significantly easier than his 160, his 155, and his 150 comebacks from previous weeks. Over at Mash Elite, we had Travis's 69 kilo female lifter, Hunter Elam, who snatched 95 kilos, which is the most I remember ever seeing her hit. She didn't write on the post that it was a PR, and it didn't really look like it ought to have been a PR. It didn't look too bad, but it did look like the most I've ever seen her do, and I am unsure that she's actually ever out-snatched that 95 kilos. Speaking of Travis Mash, briefly, I recorded an episode on his podcast last week, The Barbell Life, which has been a goal of mine for several years. So stay tuned for that podcast to come out, basically. I'm sure it'll be out in the next week or two. I had so much fun on that podcast. It's really cool for me that, Travis's podcast was one of the first I ever listened to, and I listened to every episode religiously, and it got me to fall in love with podcasts, essentially. A few months ago, managed to have him on my podcast, which was epic, and now I have been on his, which is even cooler for me. So I'm very thrilled to have done that and very excited for that to come out and you guys to hear it. Next, one of my favourite lifters to watch is Lee Sang, the 69 kilo South Korean lifter, who just posted a video of himself clean and jerking 180 kilos. A huge lift for a 69 kilo lifter, especially a lesser known 69 kilo lifter. Now, for those of you who've seen it, you might be saying to me, well, he didn't make it, and I guess technically he didn't. He did drop the bar behind him. It was kind of like when was it? Rostami 2015 kind of situation. I don't know if many of you guys get that reference, but Lee Sang cleaned the weight, he jerked it, he brought his feet together, and his torso started, wobbling back and forth, and he ended up dropping the bar behind him. But it's as close to a make as you can get. It's almost. I'd almost rather do what he did than make the lift by pressing it out. You know what I mean? Like, he actually made the lift and then stepped too far forward and dropped it behind him. But it seemed better than a press out, in my opinion. But Lee Sang is great to watch, particularly in the snatch, because he gets under bars that, really nobody has even a right to attempt getting under, because the bar peaks so low. Definitely worth a follow. You can follow him at Lee Sang, Sang. This 180 is still, it's still 18 kilos off the world record, but still a good lift. Brian Racenour makes the news show for a few lifts this week. The US 56 hit a snatch balance of 137 kilos. Now, normally I don't care about things like snatch balances, but when you snatch balance 2 kilos under the world record snatch for your weight class, it is at the very most, or least, I'm not sure, worth a mention. I think at the very most, it's worth I'm not going to do much more than that, but I'm going to mention it because it's still pretty cool. Now, honestly, I do not believe that the snatch balance has almost any carryover to a snatch, but it's still a cool lift, especially when it's 2 kilos under the world record snatch. But it's because snatches are never met high and ridden down like they are in a snatch balance. And if they are, they're so light that they don't need much practice. People miss snatches because of the pull, the speed, the timing, and the positioning, and the balance. I don't believe that overloading the standing up portion of the snatch, the easiest part of the lift, the part where you really should not ever fail, I don't see that as particularly beneficial. That's my opinion anyway. Also last week we saw Brian Racenour hit a PR jerk of 143 kilos, a far more impressive lift in my mind, 7 kilos over the US clean and jerk record. Next we have Sarah Robles, the reigning... Is it Robles or Robles? Every time I say Robles on this podcast, I'm kind of like in mind jail and I'm thinking, is it Robles? I've heard people say Robles. I prefer Robles. I know it's not down to what I prefer, it's down to what her name actually is. I'm going to go with Robles until proven otherwise. Anyway, Sarah Robles, the reigning super heavyweight world champion, she snatched 115 kilos this week, making it look really easy. No other woman in the USA can do that, and she does it with ease. I think that is around 90% of her competition best. I believe she's done 128 in competition. Okay, so CJ Cummings' snatches, 69 kilo lifter, 17 years old. His snatches are continuing to follow a steep upward trend. Not only did he manage 3 doubles at 138 kilos, which, by the way, is 96%. Try and do that, by the way. 96% for 3 doubles, no misses. He then managed 5 singles at 140 kilos, which is 98%, 3 kilos under his own American record, a weight that only one other USA 69 has ever hit, Alex Lee, who held the US record at 140 before CJ demolished it. I think it's almost impossible that CJ doesn't get another snatch record again. I know he just got... in his last competition, he got 2 snatch records. He got 142 and 143. I think he's going to get 44. I would love to see a green on the bar with a 145 snatch. Whether that's possible or not, I don't know. But, his consistency at the moment is phenomenal. People have always said that he's been lacking in the snatch. And I think he's kind of proven that maybe it's still, his weaker of the 2 lifts, but it's certainly... what can you say? He's a better snatch than any USA 69 lifter has ever been. People always do this, where they look at his clean and jerk and they go, oh, he's not a good snatcher. No. He's a phenomenal snatcher. No senior American has ever been as good as him in the snatch as a 69 kilo lifter. It just so happens that he's also a world record holder, a youth world record holder in the clean and jerk. Enough. I'm done. Next, a big moment in training for the lesser mentioned US 85 kilo lifter, John McGovern, who just jerked Well, it's a monumental moment, really, in weightlifting. He jerked 200 kilos, which now makes him one of three 85s in the USA who's able to jerk 200 kilos. Of course, the others are Cantrell and Harrison Maris. But a year ago, I don't believe that there was a single 85 in the USA who was capable of that. So it kind of goes to show the spiraling effect that one good lifter can have on the other lifters in the weight class. Really cool lift to see. Next, we have a video that was it was sent to me by the man himself, the man in the video, Sultan, the weightlifter slash coach who goes under the Instagram name Sultan Sword. He just front squatted 200 kilos for a set of 5 as a 77 kilo lifter. He has been known to repost some of my videos, and so I kind of know him very slightly, but he decided. I mean, clearly he was very thrilled with himself for this set, and it is incredibly impressive. So he sent it to me. So I felt like I kind of ought to mention it on the show. 200 kilos for a set of 5 in the front squat as a 77 kilo lifter. Sultan actually, he rarely pushes the 1 rep maxes in training. He does a lot of complexes, a lot of pulls plus hangs and all that kind of thing. But I do remember him clean and jerking at Nationals a year ago. I think it was 190 kilos. So, I mean, he is actually a pretty exceptional lifter himself. An incredible session this week came from the Armenian 105, Simon Martirosyan, who hit 3 doubles in the snatch at 180 kilos. 90% of the world record for 6 reps, doubles, 3 doubles is just insane. I really do believe that the age of Simon Martirosyan is coming soon. I'm not convinced it has begun. I think that there are a few other lifters who, if in shape, can beat Simon Martirosyan. Nuruddinov comes to mind. But the age of Simon Martirosyan is certainly on its way, and it may well turn out that he wins almost everything from now on. I mean, we've seen him hang snatch 205. I believe he is full snatch from the floor 195, maybe more by this point. He's clean 245, weighing heavy. I think he was like 113 at the time. But I mean, he's a phenomenal lifter. It may well be that he now becomes the dominant lifter in the 105 kilo class for the next 10 years. The biggest news out of the USA comes from the best female lifter in the USA, the 85 kilo lifter Harrison Maris, who I think he probably must weigh around 85 kilos now. He's been gaining for the last few months. He must be 85 by this point. Last week, once again, Harrison PR'd absolutely everything. He snatched 157 kilos, which, worth mentioning, 4 kilos under Jordan Cantrell's best competition snatch of 161. And he clean and jerked 201 kilos, 10 kilos over Jordan Cantrell's best competition clean and jerk. So this 358 kilo total is only a kilo off the silver medalists in the 85 kilo class at the Worlds in 2017, and is equal to the 3rd place total from 2017 also. So, just amazing lifting. The fact that Harrison medaled in the 77 kilo class at Worlds, and is now just, 5 months later, totaling and training lifts that would give him medals in the 85 kilo class as well. Albeit worth mentioning, a underperforming 85 class, but still, a great total nonetheless. Next, Lasha Talakadze, the strongest weightlifter of all time, trolled us all this week as he squatted 180 kilos, 40 kilos under his best ever snatch, for a set of 5 in a Smith machine. In a gym that looks identical to one that I actually trained in Croatia about 5 years ago. So if I come to find out that Lasha has been in Croatia, in that same gym, I will probably use that as my claim to fame. Or at least use that as my way into the Georgian team. But, I found that kind of funny that he was doing that. I guess anything to keep a little bit of lifting whilst he's on holiday, which he seems to be. If you follow him on Instagram, you will have noticed the armada of pictures of Lasha topless on the beach. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but we are being inundated with topless Lasha at the moment. Big news from Ali Mendez once again, who continues his streak on this show for another week. Mendez, the 85 kilo world champion from Chile, just clean and jerked 215 kilos in training, 5 kilos under the world record, and he stated that he wants to hit 221 for a new world record at the Pan Ams, which starts actually in just over a week. Now, sorry, my phone's going off. Let me just pause that. There we go. I think, if I remember correctly, Ali Mendez attempted 221 kilos at the World Champs in 2017, and he cleaned it. He's got a phenomenal clean. I mean, he's got a phenomenal jerk as well. He just wasn't able to put it together. But I wouldn't be surprised if Ali Mendez is able to do that. I think we can all see that Harrison is not going to win at Pan Am's because he's up against a world champion, and I think honestly, as long as Ali Mendez makes his opener, there's nothing that I don't think there's anything that Harrison can do to win, at least at this point in his career. Anyway, so one of the things that I wanted to say about the Pan Ams is that I'm going to be at the camp when I'm going to be at the camp in the USA when the Pan Ams is on. And so what I'm thinking about doing, I mentioned about doing this last time at the World Championships and never did, but I'm thinking about recording a live commentary over the top as I watch it. So potentially, if people are interested, they'll be able to mute the live stream, tune into the live episode of the podcast, and have me and maybe Glenn and maybe a few lifters from the podcast from the camp. I don't know, but certainly me just acting as the commentary. I feel pretty confident that I know just as much about weightlifting as the current commentators. Actually, I don't know. It depends who you guys have. I don't know who's commentating on this. If it's someone like Sean Waxman, I'm certainly going to admit defeat. He's phenomenally knowledgeable with weightlifting. But for some of the people that I often listen to, I think to myself that I could do a better job than them. So that's something I might look into doing. If you're interested, let me know, because if I end up getting people telling me to do it, there's a much higher chance I'm actually going to end up doing it. Sticking with 85s, another 85 lifter who has also clean and jerked 215 kilos, though someone who's actually done it in competition, not just training, no offense to Ali Mendez, is Denis Ulanov of Kazakhstan. This week, Denis Ulanov snatched 165 kilos, I think 10 kilos off his best competition snatch, but he also front squatted a massive 240 kilos, which is a huge lift for an 85 kilo lifter. Phenomenally strong quads. He's the kind of lifter where, when you watch him clean and jerk 215, and then you watch Rostami clean and jerk 215, you don't think that there's any way that Rostami is going to be a better lifter, but he is. Denis Ulanov pulls the bar so effortlessly. He stands up so effortlessly, and when he makes a jerk, he makes it effortlessly as well. So, amazing lifter to watch. Certainly a lot to come from him. Now, moving up a weight class this time, in the 94 kilo class, we have Mezo Hassona, also known as Fares Ibrahim. I don't actually know what his name is. I have noticed that when he's competing, his name is Fares Ibrahim, and that's how I've always known him. But his Instagram handle is Mezo Hassona. I don't know if that means something else. It looks like a name to me. I don't know. But he is the 19-year-old lifter from Qatar, the 94 kilo lifter, who just clean and jerked. I mean, bearing in mind he's 19 years old, he just clean and jerked 221 kilos, which is a PR for him. Just 12 kilos under the world record of 233, and a kilo more than his previous best. His previous PR that he set at the 2017 Worlds was 220 kilos. Now again, back to MASH Elite, the 94 kilo world team member, Nathan Damron, squatted a very fast looking 290 kilos, probably the fastest that any USA weightlifter is able to squat 290 kilos. In fact, certainly quicker than any, at least world team member is able to squat 290 kilos. 28 kilos below his best ever of 700 pounds, a lift that I don't believe he could currently replicate, but it's almost irrelevant for him at this point. His legs are strong enough for the clean. It just kind of comes down to his pull and his timing at the moment. So his actual weightlifting is looking better than it basically ever has. D'Angelo Osorio is back on the show after a few weeks off. The 105 kilo lifter who snatched, I think I mentioned him last week on the show, he snatched 155 kilos at University Nationals. He just snatched 160 kilos in training, more than I think we've seen him snatch in maybe about 6 months, or maybe even more. Only 5 kilos below his best ever snatch of 165, so he's definitely looking really good right now. Next, talking about 165 kilo snatches, we had Mohammed Ehab, the 77 kilo lifter, who snatched 165 off blocks just last week, a kilo below his best, and then he jerked 200 kilos at the rack, also a kilo below his best clean and jerk. He looks very strong. It's really great to see a lifter outside of the USA who posts all of his videos during the year and doesn't kind of hide away during the off season. It's always nice to see how athletes are doing, especially for me doing this news show, being able to see how these athletes are doing, 6 months out of competition, instead of them hiding away somewhere, he actually posts his lifts. So I always give props to Ehab for that. Next, we have Surab Maradi, the world record holder in the clean and jerk and total in the 94 kilo class. He just posted a 225 kilo clean and jerk. Clean is effortless. Jerk is always maybe a little bit out in front, but that's kind of just what he does. I don't even know if that's a technical flaw anymore. I think that's how he makes his lifts. And I mean, you almost can't call it a technical flaw because he holds a world record, so he's the best to do it. But so he clean and jerked 225, 8 kilos below his own world record. Also 8 kilos below Ilya's now unofficial world record because, he got popped, so Surab now holds it. But it is worth mentioning that Surab has done 240 kilos in training, 15 kilos more than he just did now. But I mean, he looks like he's in great shape, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing him compete at whatever turns out to be the next competition for him. Next, we have Wes Kitts, the other USA 105, who he's been following quite a nice progression. If you're kind of into programming and you like understanding why or how people are doing things, it's been fun watching Dave Spitz's programming for Wes recently. He's basically been working up through maybe what looks like his first, second, third attempts in competition. So he's been doing, he started off a few weeks ago, he would clean and jerk 203, which is an opener, and then he'd clean 213. The next week he would clean and jerk 203, clean and jerk 213, and then clean 221, which would be his third attempt. And then on his final week, he went for 203, 213, 221. He cleaned it, and it was the best clean he's ever done at 221, bar none. I mean, without a doubt, the best clean he's ever done at that weight. He then missed a jerk, but it was one of those ones which is... It's almost like there's no point redoing it in training because you did it. I mean, he held it, he walked around with it a bit, and then right at the last minute he dropped it. But I mean, he had it overhead, locked out, just walking around with it for about 5 seconds. So I think he should kind of move on from that and just start attacking 221. In competition, by all means, go for the 221 because it's a new American record, and he probably wants to get in the history books before the weight classes are rewritten. But for all intents and purposes in training, I think you can call that a make. Lastly, before we head on to the final section of the show, we have Toshika Yamamoto, the 85 kilo lifter from Japan, who just back squatted 240 kilos for a set of 7, and he then back squatted 270 kilos for a set of 5. Just some of the strongest legs in the world. I remember him. I remember when he entered a powerlifting competition a while back. I think he only benched like 140, which, is not awful, but it's pretty awful, really, when you consider the rest of his strength levels. But he then went and back squatted 300 kilos ass to grass with a bounce, which all the powerlifters at the meet were blown away by. It was really, really fun to watch. I think he then deadlifted somewhere around 270, so he destroyed everyone, basically. But a phenomenal squatter is Toshika Yamamoto. Now on to the final section of the day, the People's Lifts. I almost forgot the name of it then. The People's Lifts. Now I have a bunch of lifters who did very well this last week. So I think these are some good ones for you guys to listen to. So the first is from a guy called Shane Shevik. I think it's pronounced Shevik or Skevik. No, it's got to be Shevik. Shane Shevik. He's a 105 plus lifter. He's 40 years old, and one of his goals was at the age of 40 to jerk 400 pounds, 182 kilos, and he did it. And I mean, that's just such a phenomenal thing. I don't know how many 40-year-olds you know who can jerk 400 pounds. He mentioned something maybe about maybe trying to do 500 pounds at 50. I don't think that's possible, but I would love it if he went and tried to give it a go. I don't think there's probably anyone in the world who can do 500 at 50, but I mean, there are still very few people who can jerk 400 pounds at 40 years old. So just the fact that he's able to do that is fantastic. You can follow him at Sevik, which is SSEVCIK, Sevkik. Yeah, to watch him because he's a great lifter. Next, we have another friend of mine, Sal Badali, who you've probably heard me and Glenn maybe mention once or twice on the podcast before. He's a 94 kilo lifter. I believe he still follows Glenn's programming. I'm not too sure. Maybe they just talk a lot. I don't quite know how it works, but he's kind of like an honorary member at least of the Pendlay WOD. he snatched a PR of 150 kilos. He's a 94 kilo lifter, phenomenal. And then in that same training session, he clean and jerked 180 kilos, which is, a 330 kilo total as a 94 as an up and comer is pretty phenomenal. You can follow him at Badali Strong, Badali Strong, Badali Strong. Yeah, Badali Strong on Instagram. Next, we have Seb Ostrovich, aka the voice of the people, with a clean PR at 145 kilos. A 4 kilo PR for him. 2 years in the making. You can follow him at Seb Ostrovich on Instagram. I just ad-libbed that. I had absolutely no intention of mentioning myself on this section until I suddenly thought I'm going to do that. And I have done. So I am actually very pleased with that clean that I hit. 145 kilos. It was one of those days where I didn't think, I was going to max the clean, but I didn't think I was going to do particularly well. 120 kilos didn't feel great. Hit 130, hit 135, hit 140, hit 143, missed 145, and then made 145. So I was very happy with that. I mean, I'm sure most of you know my goal for the next few weeks. I definitely want to be able to do it by the time I'm at the camp, or whilst I'm at the camp, is I want to clean 150 kilos. Oh my god, it's about time I cleaned 150. You get to a point where you're just so disgusted with your own numbers, and the fact that I haven't snatched 120 and the fact that I haven't clean and jerked 150 is just unacceptable to me at the moment. So anyway, if you want to kind of follow my progress, I don't think I've ever mentioned my Instagram handle on here. Obviously, I've got Weightlifting House, but you can follow me at Seb Ostrovich, OSTROWICZ on Instagram. I welcome the influx of follows. Hopefully, I'll get one or two from that. Next, we have, it was posted by Cornwall Weightlifting Club, which is actually a weightlifting club that is not too far from me. I've never been, but I probably only live about an hour and a half drive away from Cornwall Weightlifting Club. But they have a lifter called Abby, who just squatted 200 pounds, so 91 kilos for a set of 10. In fact, I assume Cornwall Weightlifting Club is the Cornwall that I live by. Maybe there's a Cornwall in America. I don't know. There could be. I know that there are a lot of places in the USA that we originally had here that you guys kind of stole from us. So maybe I'm not anywhere near this weightlifting club. But anyway, this is a great lift. I mean, 200 pounds for a set of 10 is no joke. And Abby looked amazing doing it. You can follow her at Alpha Abby. Yeah, it's a good name. Alpha Abby. ALPHAABBIE. Alpha Abby. I was just looking at it then, and I suddenly realized there were so many A's and B's. I got confused, so I'd said it wrong. But no, that is it. Alpha Abby. Follow Abby to see a set of 10 in the back squat at 200 pounds. Lastly, we have Eric, who he either snatched 108 or 113. It was one of those angles where you cannot see if there were 2.5 kilo clips on each side, so I didn't actually know. So it's either 108 or it's 113. But he hit it in competition. It looked very nice, very kind of deliberate and purposeful movement. Pulled the bar where he wanted it. He caught it where he wanted it. It wasn't scrappy. It was just like a pretty nice textbook lift, and I really enjoyed watching it. So you can see Eric and follow his lifting at eric.pick, ERIC dot like a full stop, or you guys call them periods in America, ERIC.PICK, to see that lift. Now, I believe that's it. I think that's everything for the news show this week. Like I mentioned, I've got this tour that myself and Glenn are going to be doing. I mean, I'm not going to be giving a presentation. Don't worry about that. I'll just be there helping out. It will be Glenn who's doing it. So Ireland on the 29th of July, and then we think Chelmsford on the 4th of August.